another edition of the Morning Cup.
Good morning.
Page, Arizona's morning show. Yes, Lois is partially invisible today.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Okay, why are we so big and why can't you see what's on our shirts?
Okay, I'm going to explain it to you like I did yesterday. Because we got the new desk, the camera's farther away, which means we had to zoom it in so I can see over the top of the monitor, and we have to adjust these things, and they're all jacked up right now. Get over it!
So it's like last night where you were preparing for the news and you went, oh my God, my head is so
Yes.
big.
Yes. When I first turned it on before adjusting it, my head filled the whole screen. It was a thing of sheer horror and terror that can only be found in the Twilight Zone.
Oh boy.
Or here, right in Homestead Studios. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, so now you have to sit closer to me, Lois.
Aw.
I got cooties.
I know. I have your cooties already.
She already has my cooties.
I said I do.
No, I don't.
So
You said yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I was there. I don't even know. But yeah, your shirt is kind of invisible.
It is.
Today.
It is.
I see that.
I guess maybe I'm a little bit of water today.
You're a little bit of water?
Yeah.
I'm not touching that one. Morning, the show is for entertainment purposes only.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, man. Good morning, guys. Thanks for
Morning.
being here. Holy cow. Let's see. Scott says, happy hump day. Happy hump day. Good to
Yes.
see you. And Steven says, good morning from the Black.
Good morning.
Good to see you. And Gina says, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going down there? Renee says, good morning.
Ah.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
I just.
What?
I
They started it.
I,
No, I'm stuck with it. You know, I could probably try and adjust a little bit.
yeah, because that's a little freaking me out here.
What's
It's just-
freaking you out? What?
Really? Oh, please no. If you guys, you guys can't see what he's doing, but he's moving where we are on the screen. Really? Oh my good Lord. Oh, he just put us like, you did. Oh, what are you doing?
Making myself walk in the stairs.
Oh,
Yes, it's
my
one
goodness.
of those days. You
It
can't go
is.
up. We can go up about that
But
much
can
higher.
you shrink it down a bit?
Well, we could, I suppose.
No, I said a smidgen, but that works.
Yay!
Yay!
How's that?
Woohoo! I'm normal now. It's not freaking me out over here. And it's probably not freaking you guys out
I
anymore.
don't even know, man. This is horrifying. And let me go ahead and catch up on the comments over
Yes.
here. Gina's got a camel.
Yep.
Nice.
Hump day.
And Ann's giving us the wave. Good to see you.
Hi,
Thanks for being here. Don says, good morning from New Mexico.
Good morning.
Good morning, New Mexico. And Gina says, move over, Lois. Ha, see? She's on my side.
See, and now I can. Well, no,
No,
I
you can't.
can't.
It's the same size, relatively. It's just now it's this big instead of the full screen.
Good Lord.
Deal with it, man.
I don't
Deal
want
with it.
I don't want
Gina says, thank you.
to. Probably for
shrinking us? Allie says, howdy from Wyoming. Sorry our weather got drunk and rained on your Memorial Day. I don't know. It was weird out there. I tell you, this weather's
Good
been
morning.
crazy.
Yes, it has.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here. David says, but it is still sleep time, not wakey bakey eggs and bakey time. And Ed says, flowing.
Water.
Oh, not where I was going with it.
Oh my.
Debbie says, good morning, good morning.
Good
to see you."
morning.
Renee has died. And Ed says, Twilight Zone theme. What?
Twilight Zone mixed with a little bit of Spaceballs. I like it.
Yeah. No, that would be like.
You went.
I've lost it. Man.
I don't think you've ever had it.
Hey!
You've been like this for the over 10 years I've known
No
you.
reason to get nasty.
I'm just being honest. It's not nasty.
Jeez. Oh, yeah. Renee says floating heads.
Yes.
Floating heads. Horseshoe Ben says, hey, good
Hey,
to see
good
you.
morning.
We haven't seen you forever. What
No,
you
we
been
haven't.
doing? You guys have been busy as
Oh.
all get out over there.
Yeah, you have.
My goodness. They even had to shut down the highway.
Yes.
Apparently, you are very popular.
You are.
It's those curves, I'm telling you. It is. It is definitely
Yes, it
those
is.
curves. Good to see you. It's been a while. Thanks for being... And now I get to say it. The anthropomorphic personifications are here in the house today.
At least one.
Well, it was like... Good to see you. And Anne's just like...
Anne's emojis look like Mother Nature right now.
I know, right? Like, we don't know what's going on, but you're toast, man.
Pretty much.
Are toast. I wonder if I should try and fix the camera while we're live. Horseshoe says, don't get me started. I know, right?
Oh, boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
Oh.
That's some insanity out there. And unfortunately, we were out on the lake doing Memorial Day stuff with Behind the Hat Unplugged on
Yes.
Saturday, or we would have been down there filming you.
Yeah,
Because
we
apparently the spectacle was incredible.
It was.
And horrifyingly annoying to everyone stuck in it. Oy, terrible stuff, man.
And it wasn't a little bit of time.
No.
From what I understand, it was, I mean, ADOT tweeted out, and it was several hours later where they said, okay, yeah, it's open and clear
And
now.
you know when ADOT's tweeting about Page, Arizona, that some stuff is going down.
Yeah, pretty
That's all I'm
much.
saying. Yeah, we never get in the ADOT feeds, but
no,
man.
no.
Renee says, you know, Chris needs to move toward the center. A bit parts are disappearing when he moves around. Yes, I know.
See,
Look,
but I disappear too when I move, so.
it's her fault.
I did not set this stuff up.
Linda
You
says,
guys-
it's summertime. Let's all sleep in. Is Chris still tired or something? Yes.
well, Chris is a little
wait,
freaked out right now.
Why am I free? Oh, hold on. Oh, my goodness. There's some other issues going on.
Really? What
there
what
is.
do you have going on?
Yep, there.
What is wrong with you?
There was a thing.
Oh, there was
There was a
thing.
line. There was a line. Oh, the wave is giving us the wave. Good to
Hello.
see ya. And says, no, never sleep in the summer. Up early, beat the heat. Well, if we ever get any.
It's coming. It is coming. We're supposed to, if I remember the weather from last night, die quietly, love.
Shut up.
If I remember the weather, we're supposed to be getting into the 80s by Saturday. We're going to be like 85 on Saturday.
Well, let's take a look at the forecast and see what kind of doom and destruction is coming up, shall we?
And see if it's changed.
Yeah, I know, right? Today we have a high of 72 degrees. Tomorrow, 77. Friday, 82, guys. 82 on Friday.
Oh, and it's going to be toasty on
And
Saturday.
Saturday, 80 freaking 7. We're warming back up. So
Yep.
all of you guys out there that have been whining like, it's cold, it's rainy. We are going to boil alive before, you know. Before you know it, we're going to be like, at least we live next to a lake.
Yes.
I don't even know, man. I don't even know.
And at least we have showers.
Huh?
If you don't live next to a lake,
Uh-huh.
you have showers.
Well, this
cold
is true.
water.
It's different.
Unless you're living in, southern Arizona area, south of Page.
Yes, if you live in south of Page,
Yeah, because cold water doesn't exist in the summer.
no. Yeah, except for the swimming pools. But the swimming pools, see, that's the problem. The pools are nice and toasty warm until you get out of them when you're, like, down in Phoenix. As soon as you get out, the water flash evaporates, and you're like, and you start freezing to death because it evaporates so quickly. It's amazing.
And then you jump back in.
Yeah, well, there is that. There is that. I didn't know, man. And says 80s are nice. It's the hundreds that kill me. I know.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I'm looking. He's got the forecast up right now,
I do.
and there's a bunch of clouds for several days, and
Look, Thursday is partly cloudy, and
Right.
Saturday is partly
right.
cloudy.
And I'm looking at next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I'm thinking, does that mean humidity?
Ooh, yeah.
Blech.
And, if you guys aren't from Arizona, we like the dry.
Yes, we do.
So when it turns humid, and by humid we mean anything over about 4% humidity, we hate it. And anything above 20% humidity, and the swamp cooler doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks. You know what? This is driving me nuts, so I'm gonna try and work on something.
What is driving you nuts?
The
Oh my
camera.
goodness! You're letting me drive right now?
Yeah, I'm just right here behind the camera.
That's a little freaky. Oh my goodness!
So this is gonna make some wiggliness here.
So I'm gonna go through some of the comments that we've got going here.
Comments that I have missed?
Yes. Well, that have popped up that you have not looked at yet.
Oh. Okay.
So Renee is asking what time Mama Lois gets in today. Sometime this afternoon. She's not real sure. She has not sent me the itinerary yet.
Yeah, which is hilarious, I might add.
But I actually told Mama Lois, "What are you doing?" Oh, sorry guys. Everything is moving in my peripheral vision. So I told Mama Lois, since she's, gone nutty with trying to plan everything, that she should just message when they land. Because, what are you doing?
Can you see? Can everybody see?
Oh my goodness.
Is it better?
I don't know. You've got us moving all around. Sorry, guys. He completely threw me off my train of thought when he was doing all of that.
What are you talking about?
Really?
I don't even know what's happening right now.
Neither do I.
I don't even know, man.
So I just let Mama Lois know. Message us when you get in. Because the airport is not that far away. You want to go through the next comment?
Yeah, let me go through the comments now that what?
Now that the epic earthquake is done.
Let's see. Let's see. David says we get 91 or more today. Ooh. And Glenda says, I think that heat will hit us very soon, but we are enjoying the cooler weather. Mm-hmm. It's good for the summer ceremonies. Not too hot, standing over the fire, making bread and cooking some good mutton.
Oh, nice. You just made me really hungry.
Yeah, my guts have been making the sounds, man. The sounds. Gina says, warm weather coming as I'm going to Tucson. Ooh. You're going... See, Phoenix is the skillet. Tucson's the fire, so you're toast. That's all I'm saying.
Pretty much. And I'll actually be in Tucson for council stuff in August. Hey, but at least I know people down there that have pools.
This is true. Ed says, I look at like 5 different websites. None of them agree. I can predict better if I walk out on the deck and look. Yes. And then 10 minutes later right now. Okay.
I know, right?
Oh, Dwayne says good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
See ya. Thanks for joining us. And Dwayne says slept in a bit.
Yay.
I don't blame you. You need it. And says earthquake. Yes, definitely. But look, now you can see us better. But that's good, right?
Yes, it is good. It is good. It's just, if you're not from California and you haven't experienced an earthquake.
Well, now you have.
That's what they look like.
Dan says, what is he drinking? I want some. Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what he loaded his coffee with. I made his first cup. The rest were up to him.
Todd says, oh my God. He says, moving in stereo, are we? Yes. Definitely.
And it was really hard for me not to pay attention over here because my peripheral vision is so astute that I could see everything that was moving in one of the monitors, and it was driving me nuts.
And Gina says, no, it's not better. What do you mean it's not better? Aw. Renee says, better. Now it looks normal. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
I'm seasick, Debbie.
Debbie says I'm seasick. Sorry.
It's all his fault.
See, Dan says, and Yuma is the hell of Arizona.
Yes, it is.
The sweaty, burning one down there. David says, you picked the wrong month to go to Phoenix.
Yeah, didn't have a choice. That's when everything is scheduled.
I'm trying to...
That was, no. If I was scheduling it, it would not be in August. Hey, look at that!
Yeah.
Woo!
We're almost back to normal. But it's still pointed a little too high. I'm getting closer, though. You can move that way now, because you're invading my space.
That was your fault.
Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez. So, welcome to the destruction of the morning show right here live. You guys are privy to that. So, yeah, Mama Lois coming in today.
Yes.
At some point.
This afternoon.
Why did she not send you the time? We have to pick her up.
Because she kept forgetting, and I told her, don't worry about it. We're like 2 minutes away from the airport. Just message us when you get here.
Oh, man.
It was one thing off the list that she, needed to do.
All right.
So, yeah.
All right.
Mama Lois has been driving herself crazy.
Yeah, and us. That's all I'm saying. but we love the Mama Lois.
Oh, we do.
Yes, we're glad that she's coming.
And hopefully we can convince her to be on the morning show at some point.
Oh, yeah, well, she was on last time she was here.
I know.
Yeah. I think she liked it.
I think she did, too.
I think she liked it.
She hasn't really said whether she truly liked it or not. She said, yeah, it was fun.
I don't know. I think she was smiling.
She was, but I think it was, the whole mom thing.
Oh.
Maybe. So, but I think secretly inside she had a better time than she lets on.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's always a good thing.
So, yeah.
Yes, guest star appearances by Mama Lois.
I know. Trying to convince her to move here, by the way.
Yeah.
So, if y'all can, help. Put in the comments. We need her to move here.
Oh, man. Let's see, where are we at here? Don says, high 70s all week for Candy Kitchen, New Mexico. Great camping weather. Nice. Yeah, not too hot yet.
No.
And says, love the t-shirt, Chris. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I wear this one all the time, but there are too many idiots in the world. That's all I'm saying. We're not going to go into that, though.
Nope, wrong show.
Let's see. Dwayne says, Lois, your shirt is partially transparent. I can see the background.
Yep, I'm a river today. Apparently.
Yep, she's a river. It's funny because, technically, this is not a green screen behind us. This is the windows on the Homestead Studio TARDIS right here at LPNN. But it may or may not have something to do with the green military active camouflage. I don't even know. But it's supposed to be green, but there are certain shades of yellow and blue that also slowly fade away.
This would be one of them.
Apparently so. We learn new things every day, and it's like, look, we can see through you.
And Gina's saying, rather than Yuma, Lake Havasu City is. Yeah.
No.
They're both toasty.
Renee's got the alien with a party balloon.
Yes.
That's awesome right there. And let's see, Dad says, please do what?
I don't know.
Have Mama Lois on, maybe? Sorry, the lag time. I'm trying to catch up, guys.
We're going to try.
Dwayne says, your shirt is transparent. Oh.
You already read that one.
No,
then it came
twice,
in twice.
I was going to say, you be nice. Roberta says, good morning, y'all. Have a fabulous
Good
day.
morning.
Come on, good to see you. Hope your day goes amazing. And Wade says, wish I could meet Mama Lois.
One of these days.
Yes. And if she's on the morning show, you'll be able to watch them shenanigans, too.
Yes. Or you could go back. What?
She's crazy. But we love her.
But she's a fun crazy.
She is. Yeah, she is. Unless you're on the other end of that cane, because she will whack the crap out of you with that thing. She is like the quintessential grumpy old woman, man. She'd take that thing off. Do not piss off the Mama Lois. Yeah, she cracks me up.
She cracks me up, too.
Yeah.
She really does. And Dan says, yeah, Mama Lois.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we promise we'll try.
We will try, yes, we will.
We don't know if it'll work or not.
Maybe. It depends. Well, we'll know if she liked the last one, if she volunteers to go on one of these ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully people are looking for it. I thought it was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah, we did.
If you guys haven't seen the episode where Mama Lois is on, don't forget we have a massive video repository here on Facebook and on YouTube. You're just going to have to go find it, because it was last year sometime?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a while back. But all the episodes are still there. They don't go anywhere. And it's funny. From time to time, people will comment on them, and it's like a year after the fact.
Yes.
So,
and we still reply back. And,
yeah, when we get the notifications. Yeah. But it's Facebook, so you never know if you're going to get the notifications. Or not.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Oh my goodness.
You have more comments.
Dan says, it's 55, cloudy, and raining here in Norfolk, Nebraska. Whew. Man, when is your guys' stuff going to turn around? That's crazy.
I know, right?
And Gina says, she's not old. No, she's not. It's that image you got to get in your head,
It
man.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's just that, cane coming up against somebody's head. Although, when she was here, she almost never used her cane.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I was very impressed with, because she always uses it. And then we took her out and around and did all kinds of stuff, and she didn't need it.
Yeah, which is good.
But the one thing that Mama Lois will not be doing, which is very sad, but it is what it is. She won't be going on the boat with us.
She may.
Are you serious?
Serious.
I don't want to deal with that. She has an extreme phobia of deep water. And the lake is not shallow. So, I mean, how do you do that?
Sedatives?
Sedatives. It's going to be like Mr. T trying to get him on the airplane, man.
No, it'll be Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend at Bernie's. Oh, God. With your mom? That's terrible.
She would do it to herself just so she could be there.
Yeah, she's got a phobia of deep water. We were talking to her before where, for the wedding thing, and she really, really wanted to go, and we're like, we would love you to be there, but we're going to be in the middle of nowhere, 80 miles up a lake that is extremely deep, and if you have a panic attack, you're screwed. Not a good idea. And so, we let her gracefully out of that one because we felt so bad for her. I mean, there's no way. If you're scared of deep water, you're down like 400 feet up there, and it's a little deeper than you might, It is a canyon full of water after all. Just saying.
It is.
It ain't shallow. It is not. So, yeah, and I guess the worst part would be, see, that's the thing. She's not going to be allowed to stare at the fish finder because it tells you how deep it is.
There you go.
And she'll be like, how deep is it? I'm like, it's like 3-4 feet, man. You're fine. 100.
Oh, my. Oh, yeah, we'll have to see. See. She may end up staying behind and just watching the pubs.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of a way to make it work. I don't know. Either way, we're gonna have to find another way to get the battle barge out there.
Yeah, we will. We'll figure it out.
We always do.
Yes, we do.
Oh man! And don't forget, Mama Lois is gonna be on Behind the Hat Unplugged.
Willingly or not.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that works. If you come into my household or in my sphere of influence, you will be on Unplugged, whether you like it or not. So, there's always that.
Yeah, last time you actually were in the back seat and you were filming.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was. Yeah, that was funny.
Yes. So, you want to explain what Unplugged is?
Oh, yeah. So, for those of you that don't know, Behind the Hat Unplugged is our behind the scenes of everything that goes here on LPNN. All kinds of weirdness, shenanigans, and apparently now occasional get-togethers. The Unplugged group got together for the Memorial Day weekend, and we went out on the lake and had a barbecue over by the Castle Rock Cut, watching people try and make it. And that was fun.
It was.
So we had good times. But if you guys are interested in that, it's $10 a month to help the cause, and you get to see all the craziness that is there.
Yes.
Including the Mama Lois. I still can't believe that. So the one of the ones that's in there, I'm going to describe it a little bit. Mama Lois got us this like cabinet / shelving unit that was very heavy and really long. And it was too long to fit in
Roxy.
In Roxy, the LPNN vehicle. And so it went in there, and it was sitting from the back all the way almost to the windshield, propped up on the headrest of Mama Lois's chair. Mama Lois is so short, she was sitting in there and had about this much clearance between her head and the giant shelving unit. She's just sitting there, and there's total hair space right there. Airspace, whatever. It was hilarious.
It was.
That's how short she is.
It was.
I don't. So what?
And she did not scooch down or anything.
Nope. She was just sitting there, and there was clear from the headrest. Just, there it was. It was funny.
You have comments.
Oh man. Let's see. David says at least we can only see the lake through Lois's shirt. Yeah. That could be interesting. Different channel, man. Different channel.
And a lot more than $10 a month.
Man. And it says, isn't that why you wear a life jacket? The deep water?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's like after you watch Jaws and you don't even want to go in the bathtub.
Pretty much.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And it says, whiskey helps with panic.
She's not a drinker.
She's not, thank God. I don't even want to imagine that. Oh, my goodness. And Renee says, are you not seeing YouTube today? Oh, no.
He's got
Sorry. Oh, my goodness. Holy monkey. Sorry, guys, over on YouTube.
He forgot to close down the forecast, which was over the YouTube comments.
Yeah, I was looking at the weather. Hold on, I'll get to you guys in just a second. We'll be right over. What? I'm just saying. Let's see. Dwayne says, well, hell, I am unplugged. So am I. For those of you that don't know Dwayne here, that's my dad. Every once in a while, he pops in.
Yep,
so.
yep. And Dan says, get her drunk. She won't know.
I don't even want to picture Mama Lois drunk, man. You think she's dangerous and vicious now. She won't kill somebody.
No, she goes to sleep.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe we'll try that then. Little hot toddy. David says, are you referring to Mama Lois as a battle barge? No, that's the boat, man. That's the boat. Dan says, hope someday, if I ever come back that way, hope to meet you two. Well, it'd be great to meet you.
Yes.
Just let us know. And Debbie says, I didn't know that the lake was that deep either. But we're still going on the tour in June. I'm not a fan of deep water. Maybe put you on a bigger boat, your friend's houseboat. Yeah, that's not going to happen. The gas fuel costs alone on that thing are astronomical. I still got to fill those tanks. God. Renee says, how rude. We're almost to you. And Dan says, I want to do the unplugged with you guys. Well, if you do, go ahead and send us an email at lakepowellnews@gmail.com or message us here on Facebook right after the show and we'll get you hooked up.
And there was one that didn't show up over there that showed up on mine, and it's from Ann, and she says, Chris lip-syncing Creedence Clearwater.
I don't need... Hey, that's classified information over there. All right, now we got to jump over to YouTube. The poor YouTube guys. All right, let's
It's his fault.
It is my fault. Let's see. Kimber over on YouTube says, hello, so excited to see you this weekend. Yes.
Hi.
Yes, the cousin, sister, wife is also coming. That's a whole other thing.
That just sounds horrible.
Dave says, earthquake. Chrissy, we're going back in time here. And Carrie says, good morning on YouTube. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning.
And she says, hee, normal. I just assumed that. Hey! Renee says, good morning, Carrie and Dave. And Kimber, what if Larry the Cable Guy comes during the morning show? And Carrie saying good morning. And Renee says, if he shows up and stands behind them just waving with a dumb expression on his face.
Uh-oh.
And Carrie is laughing. Carrie says, let me find out. And Carrie says, you're fired.
Yes, you are.
And Carrie says, put Kahlua in the coffee. No, I didn't have Kahlua in the coffee. I know. All right, we caught up with YouTube. Sorry about YouTube, guys. I apologize.
It's his
fault. I had the weather prediction stuff up, and I forgot to look over on the comments.
You just forgot to close the weather, man.
I did. Well, we were talking about the weather. I need more monitors.
No.
We've only got 3. I need more over here. Right there. Right there. She's got the eyes, man. She's got the eyes.
No more monitors.
I need more monitors. That way we could have another thing over here. And then
you just need glasses so you could split screen them.
No. No. That's why I have the big monitors, Lois. Too many crickets. So apparently we have some people that are coming down to do tours. Debbie says, so you said you're going on a tour, Debbie. Which one are you going on? Let us know. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The tour boats, depending on which ones they are,
the tour boats are fine, man.
Yeah,
you're gonna kill everybody else on the lake, but you'll be fine.
Pretty much. Yeah.
The wake that those boats put out is ridiculous. ridiculous.
I still have a bump.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, look, oh, you guys got caught. They were on the houseboat and got caught in one of the wakes from it, and they didn't hit it at the right angle, and it slammed the ever-loving bejeezers out of them.
Yep,
Just boom, boom, boom. And there was a sliding glass door, and it caught her arm.
Uh-huh. At least it didn't break it. It just dented it.
I'm surprised it didn't break it, because that thing was going...
It was. I just now have, a little
divot. Yeah. So yeah, there's several tour boats, but one of them is really old school. Like, it's old, but that thing is a tank, and it has a really deep V hull.
I don't know what one it was. Either way, it was bad.
Yeah. Not good, man. Not
And Carrie
good.
says, "Okay, one more chance."
Okay, one more chance. All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. For the YouTube people, so I apologize. Lord, I apologize. Please be with the star business.
And you did miss a comment from Carrie. She says it's freaking cold outside today.
Yes, but it's going to warm up. It's going to warm up, Carrie. Today
Do
the
not.
high is supposed to be 72. I put it back. It's right there.
Oh my good Lord.
What? Give me crickets, man. Give
So-
me crickets. Carrie says kayaks and tour boats are a wild ride, especially in the canyon. I can't even imagine.
No thanks.
Especially with your makeshift water plug on the back of your kayak, man. Can you imagine? Whew. Did you know about that? So there's a cargo thing, and it's supposed to have like a waterproof cover on it, but it doesn't. And if water goes in it, the kayak goes in the drink. And so she made a makeshift cover and then duct taped the stuff out of it. The bleep.
Oh boy.
And Gary says it better. What? Let's see. Renee says the Majestic Stash is trying to convince me he needs another toolbox, like Chris is in electronics. I need another toolbox. My goodness, I got tools coming up my eyeballs.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. They're everywhere.
You don't need another toolbox.
Yes, I do. I have more tools than could fit in 4 of the toolboxes I've got out there. That's all I'm saying. That's why they're all in your office in a giant pile. And on the porch in a giant pile. And in the room in a giant pile. And in the studio in a giant pile. I need to have more toolboxes so I can organize and consolidate.
Okay,
And then I can get rid of duplicates.
So organize and consolidate now, and we'll see when you're done if you need another toolbox.
Okay. It's like a no-brainer, dude. I'm serious. I got way more tools. That's one of the reasons that thing is so disorganized. I have not enough space, so you just kind of make it fit and then slam the lid shut. That's how it works, man. You just gotta jam it in there. That's what he said. What? The show is for 10
Wow.
only.
And PG-13.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, let's see. Debbie says Rainbow Bridge. Oh, good for you. That is an
Nice.
amazing place, man. Very, very nice. She says, I think that's the name. It's the platform getting off the boat to see is freaking me out. Don't worry about it. Those platforms are awesome. You'll be fine. They are rock solid. They are not going anywhere.
No.
They use the same kind of platforms for the floating restaurant, and that's a giant building over 400 feet of water, and it don't move. So you're good. Don't worry. Those things, it's like walking on a sidewalk. Now, if there's like a big storm or huge waves, it kind of moves up and down a little bit like this. But it ain't sinking, trust me. You will be good. Don't worry about that. And the walk on them is not too bad at all. We've been down there several times. See, the nice thing about having your own boat is you can go to Rainbow Bridge or any other place on the lake without a bunch of other tourists there. You get to experience it by yourself. We had the pleasure of doing that over at Rainbow Bridge more than once now.
Once for me.
Well, once for you. And so we got to go there, and we were the only ones there.
Yes.
So amazing.
It was nice.
amazing,
It
man.
was peaceful. It was quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely hot.
Yeah, it was pretty toasty. I will give you that. But that's the funny thing. It wasn't really. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. It felt that way.
It did. Especially, being on the lake with the breeze and everything, and then you end up in this canyon area where there's no breeze.
Yep.
And so the sun was baking everything, and it was radiating off, and it was like...
Man, is it beautiful up there. I'll tell you what.
And Carrie says she hasn't tested it yet, Oh my God, Becky, a toolbox. Like, I need more duct tape.
Hey, can always use more duct tape. And electrical tape. What?
Really?
She's making the face.
I
Man.
am.
She is making the face. Everybody stand by to stand by. I don't know what's happening over here.
Really? So this man, electrical tape up the wazoo, and I go looking for a pair of jeans the other day for him and found a roll of electrical tape in his jean drawer.
But
Just saying.
what if I needed to tape something? Let's
Oh my goodness.
Carrie over on YouTube says, "Ooh, I feel a Rainbow Bridge unplugged trip. I feel one in the works." Ooh.
Nice.
Well, that's a bit longer of a trip, so we'll have to plan that one out. That's
Yeah, that's not an impromptu.
that is not an impromptu, and the fuel costs. We'll have to see on that one. Let me check over here on on Facebook. Renee says he has 5 already. Big rolling units. Nice. That's what I see. I need five big rolling units. Right there. He's got 5. Why can't I have 5?
I will explain that one to you later.
So mean, man. So mean.
You have 2 rolling units.
I have 1.
2.
The other one's a pile of crap.
Oh.
It's old. It's dented. The drawers don't close. Oh my goodness. I bought that at a yard sale for like $5.
Okay.
That thing is a disaster. David says, sounded like Tina Turner saying, you don't need another toolbox. Darlene says, wow, she's see-through. Yes, we were talking about that earlier.
Yes.
Interesting times, man.
I did not plan this today. It was, ooh, that looks good. And, well,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty much. Carrie says, my must-haves are duct tape and baling wire. Amen to that.
Yes. Maybe you could build a toolbox out of duct tape and
You know, you were just not nice today. I tell you what, man. Let's see. Renee says, nope, not going to happen. What's not going to happen?
probably the 5 toolboxes. There is one large rolling toolbox that I want to get you, except it's about $2,500.
Yeah, I don't want one of those. I'm a cheap mother beaver. That's all I'm saying.
No, this
There
thing
ain't
is
no freaking way I'm buying a $2,500
it's
toolbox.
actually taller than you.
But it's too.
I know.
Hey, you know what? Give me like 2 more of those. One.
Carrie, we are not repeating that.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
If you guys want to know, she's
They're
over
on YouTube. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I do like the idea of an unplugged trip to Rainbow Bridge, but it's going to have to be with a lot fewer people and a lot less gear than we've had on everything. Otherwise, the gas costs alone are going to eat us alive.
Yes.
I'm just saying. But yeah, I think that would be fun.
That would be fun.
And going there when there's no one out there is awesome.
It is.
You know what? As a matter of fact, so this is the funny thing. I've only been out to Rainbow Bridge a handful of times. Every single time I've gone out there, I was the only one there. So I can't even imagine what it would be like with a gajillion people standing arm to arm with their selfie sticks going out the side of the boat and everyone taking pictures. That would drive me nuts, man. The only times I have actually been out there, it's been me. And it is utterly spectacular. And it's so quiet and so peaceful. I can't even imagine just the ruckus and the din from an entire tour boat of people. That would... No.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jiminy Crickets. Debbie says, I need to hire y'all next time. Hate those bus tour people. They ruined it for us last year. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We are also doing with Horseshoe Bend tours, sunset at Horseshoe Bend.
Nice.
And some slot canyons.
Nice.
Hopefully, I want to have it too crowded for a more semi-private tour. Well, it's that time of year, so...
Well, that one,
No, I was talking about the slot canyons.
Oh, yeah. Unless it's the Horseshoe Bend slots.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're limited.
Yeah, so it depends on which one you go
are,
to.
yeah.
And they have, what was it, Ken's Tours, the Lower Antelope Canyon. They have relatively small groups. I mean, there's a lot of the groups, but I think they keep them to 10 people so the guide can help everybody out and you can do your thing.
Yeah.
It's still a little crowded, but I mean, it's beautiful.
It is. It is very beautiful.
Amazing.
See, and I'm wearing their shirt today.
Yes, you are. Renee's laughing. Scott says, I've lived here 9 years and never seen Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, wow.
You know what? So I don't feel bad. I've been here for 17, and I didn't go until...
Last year.
No, I think it was a couple years ago with Scott.
Was that the first time you went?
Yeah.
With me?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago. So, but either way, yeah, I've been here forever, and I'd never, because I didn't have a boat. Definitely wasn't going to go on a tour boat, and and then I got a chance to do it, and it was just like, wow. Yeah, so it was probably like 3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I went with Scott. Allie says you ought to try flying over it. It looks like a piece of elbow macaroni in comparison to the surrounding landscape.
Oh, that's funny.
Did
I
you get a
can
picture?
see that.
Yeah, I totally could. I totally could. Carrie says,
I'm listening. It's time to get dressed. Not to be late one Wednesday a month.
Okay.
Okay.
She's getting ready for work over there on the YouTubes. But anyway, and don't forget, guys, so we were talking earlier about, that Mama Lois is coming into town. Don't forget, El Pin and the reception is Saturday.
Yes.
And you're all invited. If you would like to come, you got to get a ticket. It's free. We're just trying to get a head count. It's a potluck style kind of event. So bring your favorite dish or your favorite snack or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Or your favorite drink.
Or your favorite... Huh? Is that a thing too? Okay,
why not?
Know. I don't know. She's in charge. I'm just passing on the news, man. But anyway, that's coming up this Saturday from 4 to 7 right here in Page, Arizona. So, if you're in the area, swing on by.
Yes.
Swing on by.
And you can meet Mama Lois.
Yeah, and you can meet Mama Lois. Let's see. Carrie says, especially since I lost the key. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately, Miss Carrie fell in the drink the other day at the lake and I lost some stuffs.
Yeah.
Terrible. So sorry,
Not
Carrie.
good.
So sorry. Yeah. But yeah, we're definitely going to have a good time, I think, on Saturday.
Oh, I guarantee it. It's just, the realization for you this morning. he messaged me. We're doing our morning thing, just trying to wake up, and I'm at my computer. I'm doing one of these, and I hear bing, and Facebook pops up, and it's Chris has messaged me and said, "Oh my goodness, it's Wednesday." And my response was, "Yeah," and he forgot that Mama Lois was coming in today. And that it's Wednesday. He thought he had more time.
Yeah. So one of the things I was supposed to do is edit the wedding video into something that people can actually watch and enjoy. I haven't even started that yet because I forgot it in it. And I got a lot of work to do on it. Plus, I still got to do a lot of stuff around the house. So I'm hosed, man. I don't even know what to do.
And Carrie says, but my cigarettes were dry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so poor Carrie fell in the lake and managed to hang on to the front of the boat. And but we saved the cigarettes. So she's like, I can swim. Don't worry about me. Save my cigarettes. We managed to do that. So definitely a good thing.
Oh, and I have to. You've got your things to do. I have my things to do. I'm making some gifts for some people.
Yes.
And I broke one of the cardinal sins of this house.
Oh my goodness. So for those of you that don't know, there's kind of an unspoken / spoken rule.
I was going to say, it's not unspoken.
So if you don't know, glitter, everybody knows what glitter is, yeah? Glitter is the herpes of the crafting world. It never goes away and it gets everywhere. And so, due to the Pizza Fairy's crafting shenanigans, glitter has been unofficially banned at LPNN Studios. And last night, Lois comes to the house and she's like, "You're gonna kill me." And I'm like,
no, I didn't say you were gonna kill me. I said you're gonna divorce me.
Well, that's not gonna happen. I'm just gonna kill you. She's like, and I'm like, what? There is nothing you could possibly do that would make me do that. She's like, I got glitter, and I'm like, get out! You know better, Lois. She brought glitter into this house.
I did, but I tried to come prepared with a box to, a container to hold the glitter because they're in little plastic packets. And as I'm taking the packets off, one of them had a hole.
And
it did.
And now there's glitter everywhere. It's everywhere.
And it's OD green glitter.
They make OD green glitter?
Yes, this one is an OD green.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say to that.
It's one of the greens in the jungle. Uniforms.
Oh, that is too funny.
Brought glitter into this house.
You did? That's terrible. Oh, man. And Carrie says, it's how you know if your man's been at a strip club. No, it's a crafting decoration as well. And if you're anywhere within, 10 yards of that stuff, it's on you. It's like...
And Carrie says, or used your lotion. Yeah, pretty much. Because some lotions do have glitter in them.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'll give you that. David says, I've lived there 20 years and never made Rainbow Bridge. My kids did, but not their dad. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, you're missing out, man. Yeah. It is amazing. But do remember there's about a mile or so hike to get to it after you get off the boat right now. Because the lake is kind of low. You got to hike about, whatever. Anyway.
The lake is a lot low.
Everybody knows that, Lois. Anyway, it's about a mile hike after you get off the boat. So make sure you got a hat of some kind. Make sure you take water. And make sure you bring some kind of shoes that are comfortable to walk in.
And sunscreen.
And sunscreen. Because it's going to be hot and it's a mile hike. And so just be ready for that, man. Be ready for that. Let's see. Renee says, I have no glitter lotion, so.
Pretty much.
But yeah, back to the Rainbow Bridge thing. Yeah, most people don't realize it's not like you just get off the boat and go over there. It hasn't been that way in many years.
What, about 20?
Yeah, probably. I think the 80s was the last time it was that far up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was when the lake was almost full. Or actually, it was full, and then they had to slowly lowered it down. Yeah, almost. But anyway, there is about a mile hike to get to Rainbow Bridge, and then you got to hike it back as well. So be ready for that. It is a gorgeous hike. It's amazing, but it is a mile hike, so be ready for it. And it's desert heat, man. Desert heat. Yes. So make sure you are ready for that, or it's going to be very uncomfortable.
Most definitely.
What else was there for today? What is it?
No. It's a conversation.
Let's see. David says, I would need a 4x4. Yeah, you can't get one up there.
Yeah, no.
You can actually hike down from the other side, but that would kill you. Charles says, good morning. Oh, okay. Sorry. Shush. Yeah, but you did miss that one.
Because it didn't show up on the phone.
Stupid Facebook and their comments of doom.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, apparently we have bored everyone today.
I saw that.
Yeah. Yes, whatever. What are you doing? Anyway, it's almost that time. Do you have anything else you want to add there, Miss Lois, today?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's so many things that's got to get done.
I'm actually going to be helping Carrie make tamales for the reception.
Yes, Carrie's tamales are going to be there. So if you don't want to see us, at least come for the tamales.
Yeah. They're tasty. Yeah. Just saying. They're actually the best tamales I've ever had.
Nice. So. Me too, but I've only had like 2 tamales in my life before that experience. So... And both of those times were canned. So, and I didn't really like
those. Those are not classified as tamales.
No? What would that be considered then?
I don't know. Survival food.
Nice. Be like Crocodile Dundee. Tastes like shit, but you can live on it.
Bleep!
Hey, that show's PG. And he says it in there, so I can say it here.
Oh my!
You behave yourself.
And Carrie says...
The wave says, y'all are fuzzy. We're fuzzy? What? No.
No.
I hope we're not fuzzy. I don't know. Looks good to us. Well, she's see-through-y, but that's because her shirt's blending in.
Yeah. If it's me, it's the color of the shirt. Sorry.
Excuse me. Jan says, any news on what was going on last night on the bridge? No.
Nope.
Unfortunately, no. But there was some other big stuff earlier in the week. But yeah, this isn't the news. This is just the morning show. We haven't heard anything, but we will put it out if we find out. Renee's sipping coffee in her alien costume and says, it's of Green.
Lots of green, please.
Oh, lots of green, please. Okay.
See?
Oh, she corrected me. Let's see. Carrie says, you can't leave us. And Carrie and Maria's. We can't forget Maria's.
No, we cannot forget Maria. The two of them are the ones who make the tamales.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was like, what?
30 seconds. Well, that wasn't even 30 seconds.
Fleshing the handle there. Fleshing the handle. David says, hello, Mama L. Have a fantastic day.
Right. You too.
And Jan says, thanks, no problem. Thanks for being here. And Anna Located says, sounds like a personal problem, Wave.
Uh-oh.
The anthropomorphic personifications are having a throwdown. The gauntlet has been tossed. Horseshoe Bend is going to come in there and break this stuff up, man. It's going to be interesting. It's the fight of the century.
I saw, what was it? It was a claymation thing on MTV years ago.
Huh?
It was like Celebrity Smackdown or something like that. And I had a vision of that simultaneously along with a vision of a South Park episode with those two going at it. That's amazing.
That is awesome. I'm glad we got the whole picture framing thing sorted out here.
Too.
Even though it was an earthquake. You guys had fun on the ride, though, right? It's LPNN The Ride.
Oh, no.
Dude, what?
Ginkgo biloba is all I can say from Carrie.
No, I don't even know.
I don't want to know.
Man.
I don't want to know.
I don't know. It's one of them days. So anyway, hopefully we get to see you guys at the wedding reception this Saturday. That'll be amazing. Don't forget 4 to 7, and it is a potluck. Get your tickets and put what you're bringing in the comments on the event thing here at LPNN.
Yes, please.
So we know what people are bringing.
And that is one thing that Mama Lois keeps asking me.
What?
What we're doing for a wedding cake.
Oh yeah, you haven't even started that. You know, for what you have planned, you're going to have to start that like today.
I know. But I don't know how much to make.
I don't know, man. You know what? I'll tell you what. Only the people that have tickets will be allowed to have a piece of cake. The tickets are free. Yes. So if you don't get a ticket, you don't get a piece of cake.
And it's cheesecake.
I know. Homemade cheesecake. I don't even understand how you're going to do that, man. That's going to be messy.
It's going to be interesting. We'll see how it goes. And Carrie's saying Peter Griffin and the chicken. Yes, that one too.
Oh, man. They're having a throwdown. It's a throwdown.
Oh my goodness, where's Dave? He's the graphic artist.
Have the wave the wave in Antelope Canyon duking it out.
That would be amazing.
Oh god. Alright guys, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing all the things that Facebook hates now, such as hey, I didn't pop today.
No, you did not. And Carrie's saying, what? Cheesecake?
Yes. She makes an amazing cheesecake. But if you're making an actual like wedding cake, it's gonna have to be like 2, 3, 4 layers deep.
You mean tiers?
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. And it takes you how long to make one, and then you gotta make another one, and we only got one of the springy pans. I know. So we're all gonna die. No, we're not. Yes, we're all gonna die. No, we're not. And your poor little mixer is gonna be over there going. Anyway. Oh, jeez, we're falling apart over here, guys. Renee says, so I get 7.5 pieces of cake. Yes. Yep. And Renee's got the flying unicorn. Yeah. Well, you have 7.5 people coming, Renee. So yeah, each person gets, but you're the one that actually got them the tickets. So it's up to you what you do with your cake. You can have your cake and eat it too. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Who's ready for some movement?
I am. Bye, guys.